So part two of this is just going to be about GitHub. So it's the setting this up in Git, uploading it, like setting up the repository, uploading it, and then pulling it back down and starting it over from scratch when you don't have. So this way you'll be able to get it up and running. If someone, like if you have one repository that you're working on as a group and someone else started it up, what do you do? How do you actually add your own bits of code to it, or how do you set it up to run it as a demo or whatever else you might have to do? First of all, I want to highlight the mistake I was making in the last video. I'm sure a lot of you caught it. I was using these less than and greater than instead of squigglies, and that's why none of this worked. But I changed it to squigglies, and now this part works fine, right? So if I just go Flask run, and we run it, and we open the URL, right over here, this nice list shows up, and just to test that every part of it works, if we comment out this line and we go data equals none, and we save this, and automatically reloads. So if we go back to our page and we refresh the page, you see it says it has nothing to say. I'm going to delete that for now, and I'm going to leave it like this. But that is the full project all set up. Now we just have to we have to do the repository part, which is put it up on GitHub and then take it down off of GitHub and run it ourselves. So putting it on GitHub, so first of all, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go git init. So now I've initialized the Git repository. We're going to do git add period, and then we do git commit -m initial commit. So now this is a Git repository saved with one commit in it. It stores my database. It does not store my .env. Really, we probably shouldn't be passing the database around, but for now, for this project, we'll pass it around for this version. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to go over here into repositories, and I'm going to create a new repository, and I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call this Flask skeleton, because this is my skeleton Flask project, a base Flask project to fork for builds. Don't worry if you don't know what the word fork it means yet, or any of those things. Those are all those are all terminology related to version control that will come later. So we're going to create this, and now I'm just going to, it gives me the code right here. I just click the little copy, go over here, click the paste, push enter, and that ran. And if I refresh over here, bang, I've got my project right here, a nice little Git repository. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to my local project. I'm going to go to the folder that holds my skeleton locally, and I'm going to delete that folder. Just throw it out. I'm going to go to desktop. Oops, never mind. I'm going to empty my recycle later, but I've just deleted the project. So the project no longer exists on my computer. How do I get it back? Or more importantly, is if, say, I want to start a new project from scratch, how do I get this code and what do I do with it? So I go and I just download the zip of this code. Show in Finder. It's going to be my downloads. I'm going to extract all right here. I'm just going to extract it here. I'm not going to move it to my projects folder yet. We're just going to work on it here for a minute. So we have Control Shift. So view, show hidden items. Okay. So this is the project. This is not an important point here, is that this is not a Git repository. It's just the project. So if we open in terminal, whoops, not in terminal, sorry. Open in Visual Studio Code. So now I've got this project, which I know has a database that's working, but it's in Visual Studio Code without my virtual environment or anything, or my .env file. So how do I set this up to actually be able to work on it? So I open the terminal, and we go python -m venv .env. So we're creating a virtual environment again. In order to do it, we have to write this. We have to run this one Python command. We get this little notice that I'm blocking. We're going to ignore that for a second. We're going to delete this. We're going to close this. We're going to go to view command palette and select Python interpreter, and we're going to select the recommended one, which is our virtual environment. And now we go new terminal, and bing, we have a virtual environment already set up, which is perfect. Now we don't actually have anything installed yet, so what do I have to do? I have to do pip install -r, and then we do requirements.txt. We run this, and in a few moments pip will install everything, all the packages that we need, which is great. The last thing we need is we want to put our .env file back because we're still working on the project, so we do .env, and in here, whoops, nope, wrong thing. If I go, it is Flask _env equals development. Save that, and now we go Flask run. Whoop, it's running, and if I click on it, it opens right here, and it's working just fine. That's all it takes. That's how you take the that's how we take the project back, get it set up. So we just create the virtual environment, create the .env file, and bang, we got our project. And then you can start working on it and making any changes you want to make. An important thing to note here is because I did a download, and I'm actually going to redo this last step. Because this is a skeleton that I want to start working off of, I did the download zip. The download zip does not include the Git repository. So I can't upload changes that I make on the zip back to this repository. In order to do that, what I would have to do is I would have to copy this URL. I have to go to my projects folder, open a new terminal window here because I want to save this in projects. Then I do git clone, paste the URL in. Now it actually cloned my Flask skeleton, and you'll see now there's a .git file. Now there's a .git folder here. This is a repository, and I need to do the same set of things I did before. I'll just do them real quick. Actually, I'm not even going to do them now, but I would have to create the virtual environment again, install everything, and create my .env file. Those 3 simple steps, and you're up and running. Alright, I'm going to put a link to the repository in the description of this video as well. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me.